In this video, I'm going to show you how I made a Harry Potter inspired cake in less than 30 minutes and without the use of magic. My daughter is a big Harry Potter fan and wanted a Harry Potter themed birthday party. And I'm afraid to say that she has been sorted into the Slytherin house. Well, at least on the Pottermore website. Anyway, that explains the snake decoration and the green colour scheme. Okay, I admit it, I didn't actually bake the cake. Baking isn't really my thing. I also cheated and bought ready-to-roll icing. But then, Slytherins are renowned for their cunning. As well as the cake and the fondant icing, I also used marzipan, green food colouring, cocoa powder, red balls for decorating, and I did also use a silver edible food pen, but to be honest, I wouldn't go out and buy one especially. The first thing that I did was to roll out the fondant icing. I then cut out a circle, which I placed on top of the cake. That is, after I'd removed the original chocolate decorations. I was lucky. I managed to find a plate that was exactly the right size, and I used it to cut around. I really like the colour of the icing. It's a wonderful emerald, almost sort of poisonous green, just the right colour for Slytherin. The icing is rather unforgiving, as in the texture of the cake does show through. I don't think you notice it on the finished cake, but I guess I could have smoothed out the surface of the cake a bit more first. Oh well. Now came the fun part, rolling out the marzipan to make the snake. It does feel like you're back at preschool. I worked out how long my snake needed to be using a piece of cord. Alternatively, I guess I could have used maths. I rolled the marzipan into a long sausage shape and tried to keep it an even thickness. So try and roll with an even pressure from the base of your palm right to the tips of your fingers. I find spreading your fingers a little helps as well. I kept rolling until the snake was the right length, and I also tapered one of the ends to make the tail. I then rounded off the other end to make the head. I also added some extra marzipan, which I smoothed in to give it a more bulbous shape. I wasn't really happy with the head, so I worked on it a bit more, moulding and smoothing it and removing some of the underside to make a more snake-like shape. So here we have it, a nice anemic worm. The next stage in the transformation from worm to snake was to give the worm a snakeskin-like pattern. I used a cocktail stick to score a crisscross pattern into the marzipan. You could spend ages on this, but I found that it doesn't have to be very neat to still look effective. And I was trying to decorate the cake in less than 30 minutes. And let's face it, this cake just needs to make a good impression. It's soon going to be devoured by a bunch of young witches and wizards. When I'd scored all the way round the body, I went back to the head. I squidged my fingers in to make eye sockets and used a cocktail stick to make some nostrils and to add the crisscross pattern to its head. The next bit was my favourite part, and the nearest we'll get to magic. I used a paintbrush, a clean one of course, to paint on some green food colouring. Almost miraculously, a wonderful snake-like pattern emerged where the score marks were taking on more colour. And I think you'll agree that even my rough score marks do the job. Then came the hardest part, waiting. Every now and again I couldn't resist poking the snake to see if it had dried. It hadn't, and eventually I accepted I would need to leave it overnight. A new day dawned and I was able to add some more detail. I mixed some cocoa powder with some hot water to make a paste. I then painted this round the base of the snake and also into the eye sockets and the nostrils to give it more definition. Next time I do something like this, I'm going to try mixing green and red food colouring and see if that works better. I added some red decorative balls into the eye sockets, just pushed them in, and I think that really brought the snake to life. I was really pleased with how my snake had turned out, and I think I could have left it there. But because I already had my silver edible paint pen, I couldn't resist using it. I added highlights to the head, and then just simple dots to the body. Oh, and then some more highlights to the head. I think the snake looks really at home, coiled round the top of the cake. Anyway, bringing this back to my daughter's birthday, I printed out a personalised birthday banner. If you're interested, then you can purchase these from the Crafty Cucumber site. The final touch was to add some silver candles for the snake to guard. I'm really happy with how my cake has turned out. It really didn't take very long to do, and my daughter was thrilled with it. It also tasted pretty good, although I can hardly claim credit for that.